Part 3: The Holy Grail. Chapter 1: Galahad Takes His Seat. Every year since his coronation, King Arthur had held a great feast on Pentecost. So this year, when Pentecost arrived, the king and his knights, as usual, assembled at the round table to celebrate. They rejoiced to have Lancelot with them after so long a separation. Just as the feast began, a fine lady came before the king with a request for Lancelot. She said that she had come from the castle of King Pelleas and wanted Lancelot to accompany her into the forest. Lancelot agreed to go. With Arthur's consent, they left Camelot right away on horseback. When they reached an abbey, the lady motioned for Lancelot to stop. The nuns greeted them and led Lancelot to the abbess's room. Lancelot was surprised to recognize two of King Arthur's knights sleeping in the chamber. Lancelot's cousins, Sir Bors and Sir Lionel. Lancelot woke the knights and told them about the lady who had brought him here. As he spoke, 12 nuns came into the chamber with the young man. Again, Lancelot was surprised, for the youth was his son, Galahad. One of the nuns told Lancelot that Galahad had been given into their care. Now he was ready to be knighted, she said, and she asked Lancelot to do so. Lancelot turned to Galahad. "Is this your wish?" he asked his son. Galahad assented. The next morning, before Lancelot and his cousins left the abbey, he knighted Galahad. "Will you return to Camelot with us?" Lancelot asked Galahad. "I will join you there, father," Galahad replied, "but it is not time yet." So Lancelot and his companions left the abbey, overjoyed that soon Arthur's court would receive such a fine and noble youth. They arrived at the king's castle in time to sit down for dinner with the king and the other knights. The whole company was astonished to see that a new inscription had appeared on the empty siege. It said, "On this day the most pure and worthy knight shall take his place in this seat." The knights started talking about themselves, about what this could mean for the round table, but Arthur called for a covering to be placed over the seat. He knew that when the time came, the knight would appear to claim his place. Just as the knights had settled down, their curiosity arose once again. A squire had come in to announce that a stone was floating in the river outside the castle. A mighty sword was lodged in the stone. Arthur led his knights to the river. Just as the squire described, there was an object floating in the water. It was a block of red marble. The sword's hilt protruded from the block. Gold letters shined brightly from the hilt in the soft twilight. Arthur drew near to read the inscription. It read, "False knights beware. No man shall take this sword except the man for whom it is destined. This knight shall be the best knight on earth." Arthur asked Lancelot to draw the sword out of the stone. "Sir," Lancelot replied, "I am not the best knight on earth." Then Arthur asked his nephew Gawain to try, but Gawain did not want to. Arthur ordered him to try, but Gawain could not draw the sword. Next, Arthur turned to Perceval and commanded the reluctant knight to try his hand on the sword. But Perceval could not remove it from the block of marble either. Finally, Arthur agreed to return to dinner and leave the sword. But this time, no one was hungry, but all were eager for an explanation of the strange events they had witnessed. They did not have long to wait, because after they were served, the light in the hall dimmed and an eerie silence descended over the court. An old hermit, dressed in a white robe, walked slowly into the hall. He was accompanied by a knight in red armor. An intricate scabbard hung at the knight's side, but he did not have a sword or shield. "Sir, this knight is the pure and noble knight who will complete your great company," the hermit proclaimed. Arthur nodded solemnly. The hermit motioned for the red knight to remove the armor. The old man led the red knight to the siege perilous. He removed the cover that Arthur had placed over the inscription and motioned the Red Knight to sit down. The king and the other knights gasped when they saw the letters. They had rearranged themselves and now read, "This siege shall now be fulfilled by this noble knight, Sir Galahad." When Galahad finally took his seat, the company stared in silence for a while. "This is the knight who will achieve the Holy Grail," one whispered to another. Arthur looked reverently at the new member of the Round Table. He noticed the look of joy on Lancelot's face. For once, the most troubled knight of the Round Table was at peace. King Arthur requested that Galahad come with him to the river. When they arrived, he asked Galahad to try to draw the sword out of the marble. Galahad easily drew the sword from the marble and placed it in his scabbard. "Sir, this sword was destined for my hand. It belonged to Sir Balin, the knight who fought and killed his brother Balin. Balin gave my great-grandfather, King Pellam, a wound that only I can heal. To honor the new knight, the king called for a tournament. He wanted to see if Galahad's powers were indeed above that of all other knights at the court. Galahad's courage and endurance were proven beyond any doubt. The only knights who he could not defeat were his father Lancelot and Percival. At the end of the jousting, everyone rejoiced and congratulated Galahad. But King Arthur was solemn. He knew that Galahad's appearance at the court signaled a great change. Soon his knights would ride out on a quest that would dissolve the Round Table.